Welcome everybody to Watershape University. Today, this is Business 2321, Marketing Renovation Services. And this is a program I talked to Brett about, well, I guess it was last summer when I first reached out to him about it. And the goal was, as we started seeing the economy slowing down, I recall that when this happened, back in 2008 and the economy collapsed, it seems like renovations was one of the things that helped a lot of builders get through that slow time. And I thought, well, we should probably get ahead of the curve now because the gravy train isn't going to keep going. And at some point, we need to be prepared for that next downturn. And if we start marketing renovation now, we're going to be in much better shape down the road. So Brett's going to go about an hour today. Welcome, Brett.
Greetings, glad to be here. I'll try to keep it under an hour, so there's a little time for questions if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir. Oops.
Thank our corporate engagement team for all their support. We couldn't do it without them. And I want to thank our show teams. We are starting to gear up for programs for next year, so we're getting excited about what kind of new things we can bring to you. No need to record this because it will be online in about 24 hours, and you'll be able to watch it for free. So thanks for all that. Next slide, please.
Oh, this is about me. We do have something about your upcoming events, but if I may, I'll just tell you, I'm the CEO and Chief Marketing Guru at Pool Builder Marketing LLC. I've got 36 years in sales and marketing. 22 years ago, I opened my own marketing agency. And for the last 17 years, I've been working exclusively in the swimming pool industry. So I'm a little bit of a specialist. Oh, and I'm a geeky engineer on top of it all. So there you go. But my motto is we will do anything and everything to help you make more money and sell more pools. That's for my whole team. That's the mantra.
Absolutely.
And so what I'm hoping to accomplish, I swear we've got your upcoming stuff. It must be at the end, I think is where.
Yeah, it's at the end.
Well, then I guess I'm up, huh? Is there anything else you want to
you're up.
before I jump in? All right. Good. Just Brett's a swell guy. How about that? All right, here's what I'm going to cover, Dave and everyone. I'm going to elaborate what Dave said about why you should consider pivoting over to renovations, but not just, the $20,000 renovations. I want to talk about how you get a lot more dollars out of the renovation business. And if you're a builder and now you're trying to get into the renovation side of things, well, there's a bunch of other people out there that are way ahead of you. For 20 years, they've been doing nothing but renovations. Well, I think you've got some advantages. I'm going to tell you how to leverage that, how you can compete with the existing renovators that are already out there. There's also risk involved, so we'll talk a little bit about how to mitigate that. And then, because there's too much, it's a major decision, I think, to jump into renovations. So you can't just do it in a 45-minute seminar. So I'll share with you some additional resources if you want to go further, which includes a very impressive course at WU, the Major Renovations course, which I think is coming up in just a couple of weeks. I've got more information on that later. To get the credits, you got to get what's a webinar. If you want a credit, reach out to Dave or Lauren. All right, let's talk about, again, elaborate on what David mentioned. Here's the issues, the multiple things that are happening right now that are affecting pool builders. If you're trying to sell new pools, we've got inflation, we've got rising interest rates. The economy has been pretty sour for a while now. Home starts are down. Home starts have a direct correlation with the number of new pool starts. When home starts go down, new pool starts go down. Not every new pool is with a new home, but there's a direct correlation. Pool prices have obviously gone up over the last 4 years. Costs a lot more today than they did 5 years ago. And they're taking a lot longer to build. Okay, it's just fact of life. So all that's working against you. And then let's add on top of that, people who were thinking about buying a pool in 2023 or 2024 or 2025 had a panic attack in June of 2020 or 2021. They said, oh my God, we got to do this now. These kids are driving me crazy, right? So So a lot of the future demand, the people that would have been buying this year and next year, well, they bought last year and the year before. So we sucked up a lot of future demand. So you roll that in. There's another phrase for it from the economists, call it fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They actually call it FUD. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. When you've got fear, uncertainty, doubt, people tend to kind of recoil back and start holding on to their money. And that's what we're going into right now with 2023. As a side note, David, I've noticed this because I've been talking to builders all over the country, and across the Sun Belt, we've been seeing this for 6 to 12 months or more, that the new leads have shrunk. And the more competitive the area, the worse it's been. Like in Houston, it's already cutthroat. Dallas is cutthroat. Other parts of the South. And as you work your way up the Eastern Seaboard, a little bit. But when you get to Middle America and Pennsylvania, and a lot of those places, a lot of those folks are still booked out into 2024. All right. So amen to you, brother. Congratulations. I hope you stay busy. But if you're in that area where you've seen this shrinkage, this presentation's for you. All right. David mentioned the upswings and the downswings. I got this data from PK Data. They're the global experts on pool industry related data. If you ever need data on our industry, PK Data is the one to get to. They've got it. And I found something very interesting here. This goes back to about 1970 or so. And you can see our industry, in terms of new pool sales, it'll climb, and it'll fall off a cliff. Climb, fall off a cliff. Climb. Back in 2007, we were at a peak of 176,000 pools per year. And then it fell off a cliff. Remember 2008, 2009, it was horrible. That's when everybody had to pivot to renovations back then. So I don't know, can you see my whole screen, my little camera? And I accidentally muted myself. There we go.
I can see your whole screen.
Okay, very good. So we went through another upturn into and through the pandemic. Well, what do you suppose is going to happen now? We're going to fall off another cliff. Okay, so that's fairly easy to predict. I'm not a rocket scientist, just an engineer. Now, here's where I want to say special thanks to Dave Peterson for letting me use a photograph of him working on an actual renovation. You're looking good, Dave. I love the taps, the ink. Good taste. Seriously.
Those are my colors. I only have white and red. I don't tan, and this guy is looking pretty burned out there.
Fair enough. All right. So I've painted a pretty bleak picture about new pool sales. By contrast, let's look at the renovation side of the business. All right. Currently in the United States of America, there are more than 10 million in-ground swimming pools. And let's just say, for calculation purposes, that an in-ground pool needs to be renovated about every 10 years. It's a reasonable estimate. If that's true, then that means there should be about 1 million pools. Well, more than a million, because it's more than 10 million. The more than 1 million pools will need a renovation in 2023. So I like to just stop here for a second. Let's go to Animal Kingdom for a second. Let's talk about lions and antelope. Okay, when there's a lot of antelope, the lions are fat and happy because they got plenty to eat. When the antelope population starts to dwindle, well, then the lions get hungrier and angrier, meaner, and they start fighting over scraps. I believe that's a good corollary, indicative of what's happening in the new pool business. So let me put it to you this way. We were at a high, probably 150, 170,000 new pools last year or the year before, where all predictions are we're going to be well below 100,000 new pools this year, and the same or worse next year. So a lot of hungry lions fighting over scraps. Meanwhile, in the renovations, well over 1 million pools are going to need renovations. It could even be 1.5 million for some additional factors I'll throw in there. So a lot of plump antelope over on the renovation side, and a lot of fighting over scraps on the new pool side. And I'm seeing it with my clients, with the pay-per-click advertising. It's just more people are throwing money at the advertising. I'm saying, dude, just walk away. You're fighting over scraps. Go over here and eat a nice juicy antelope instead. Pivot. Time to pivot to renovations. If you're a fan of Friends, then I've got the obligatory GIF to show that. Now, here's a couple of things to consider about homeowners who own a pool. Pool owners that have had their pool for a while. Well, first of all, because of all this fear and uncertainty and doubt, they're much less likely to move right now. We're getting into that hunker down kind of a mode and attitude in the country. So they're going to stay at home. And these homeowners that have had a pool for many years, well, they like the home time also. They want to, the bonding, the stuff that ever since 9/11, there's been a lot more embracing the vacation at home, staycation, and spending more time with family, keeping everyone close, right? They want that as much as everybody else. On average, across the US, the average age of an in-ground pool is 25 years. Now, some of them are 10, 12, and some of them are 40, 50, 60, right? There's a swing, but they're pretty old. On average, they're not new. They're pretty old. And most of them lack today's features. A 25-year-old pool probably doesn't have a tanning ledge, probably doesn't have in-floor cleaning, probably doesn't have any water arches, probably may or may not have a spillover spa, probably doesn't have anything beyond the pool. No outdoor kitchen, no man cave, no she shed, none of that cool stuff, no artificial turf. These homeowners that are stuck in this house, possibly longer than they wanted to, well, they would love that backyard experience that their friends have who got newer pools. If you got your pool in your last 5 years or so, it's probably got a lot of cool stuff on it. But if your pool's 25 years old, it's going to look like it's 25 years old. Just no two ways around it. That market, that 1 million plus people, they are ripe for a transformation, not just new plaster. I'm talking transformation. Let me elaborate. And by the way, let's take one more look at that data from PK Data. You'll notice, look at from about 1990 to about 2008. Look at all the pools that were built. That big, huge blue mountain is a whole bunch of pools that are now 14 years old or older. So that's a whole bunch of pools that could use renovation, maybe even on their second renovation or even third renovation. There's a lot out there to work on. Now let's talk about wheelhouse. Now, I don't know how often, Dave, I don't know how often we talk about barbershop singing, but this is my opportunity. The Watershape's unity and barbershop singing go together, okay? When I used to be active in barbershop, and I sang bass, and the guy, I remember our director would say, he'd talk about the lower notes. If you sing bass, then the low notes are our favorite. That's our wheelhouse. He says, and then you're gonna hit that note. That's your wheelhouse. Good, da 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 da. You really hit that note. We're like, yes, that's our wheelhouse. That's where our power is. Okay, so the wheelhouse, it comes from the old factories when they were powered by rivers, right? That's where the power came from, and then it was distributed to the rest of the factory. So it's a cliche, not a cliche, but I'm using it as an example. I'm going to talk about your wheelhouse. Okay, as a new pool builder, let's talk about your wheelhouse. All right. Well, we're going to get into the wheelhouse. So for a renovations company, he's all about plaster, tile, coping, and deck. Plaster, tile, coping, and deck. He can do that all day long, get done in a week, in, out. All right. He's all about that. A builder isn't about plaster, tile, coping, deck. He's about features. He's about enhancements. I should say he or she, amenities, transformations. Okay. These two, either one of these people can do a renovation, but they have a whole different mindset. Okay. The renovator, he's going to look at your pool and he's going, yeah, we can give you some new plaster and get you some new coping. And when I look at this photo, I think I'm looking at some old cool deck. Maybe it's new, but it looks a little old school to me. So maybe they said, yeah, I'll do the plaster and your coping and tile. But this deck will last you a few more years. So this only costs you $14,000. Okay. And he's thinking, man, I saved that guy some money. Well, I'm a great renovator. Meanwhile, the new pool builder, he looks at the old kidney-shaped swimming pool named after a body part, right? And he says, you know what? We could do a lot more than that. How about some water walks and spill over and with firewalks and an outdoor kitchen, man cave, fireplace, some granite, an outdoor restroom, all the other stuff. So it could be the exact same pool. It isn't in this case, but the exact same pool, two totally different approaches. One guy's trying to do it as cheap as possible. We should be trying to inform the homeowner of all the possibilities that they missed out on because they weren't available back when that pool was built. Okay. The renovator, he's experienced, he's competitively priced, and he's in and out. Get in and out quickly. That's his wheel. That's where he's strong. The builder has the vision. The renovator that have the Watershape's university trained person has a vision of the whole yard. Right. That's what separates you from renovators. You have a lot more experience. You know a lot more about building an in-floor table or chairs or tanning ledges or outdoor kitchens. You've done that. Most renovators haven't. Some do, but most of them are, especially the budget guys, they don't do any of that stuff. From a builder standpoint, anything's possible. Anything's possible. So that's why I say work your wheelhouse. If I'm showing, I don't know if everybody can see the screen, but I'm showing an older pool, nice free-form pool with an ugly rock. Why do people do that? Why do they pile rocks and make water come out of them? That should be in the code that it's illegal to make rocks pop up out of the ground and have water come out of them. That doesn't just geographically doesn't make, or geologically doesn't make sense. Anyways, they've got this pool and they say, hey, you know what? I think we need some help with our pool. I think we need new plaster. So the regular renovator comes out, and what does he do? He walks right up to the pool, says, I see the pool and I see the plaster. Yep. You're right. You need new plaster. So I'm going to quote you. He said, your tile's not bad. We can keep them all. We got to, whether he takes it or not, he said, but your coping looks good. We can keep your coping. Right. Whatever he says. And that's what he sees. That's his wheelhouse. He looks at the plaster and says, yep, I can do it. The pool builder takes a broader look. When he looks, he says, well, he asks the magic question. How are you currently using this space? And they say, well, honestly, I don't know, kids are grown. We really don't use it much. It's just, I don't know, just kind of lost its appeal. That happens a lot, right? The pool's 10 years old or older. It just doesn't have the magic of when it was new. Am I lying, Dave, or is this what you've heard time and time again?
Absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah, asking them how they want to use the space, and also keeping in mind that this pool may have been built for a previous tenant or owner, and their use of the pool may be completely different. This might have been a family pool, and now it's a retirement pool.
Yep. On average, if a pool is more than 10 years old, there's a 50-50 chance that the current homeowner didn't build it. So that's an excellent point. So here's what the pool builder would say. So tell me how you're using the space. Well, it's kind of small. We got a big yard. We don't, not much. So here's what this particular pool builder did. He said, I'll tell you what if we took this area here and turned it into a tanning ledge? We can make a big old tanning ledge here where you can relax. And on the other side, we can get rid of those ugly rocks. It looks like a dinosaur from Jurassic Park stopped to, can I say take a dump on this?
Absolutely. We say that all the time.
All right, I'll get rid of that Jurassic Park remnant and convert the other side into a vanishing edge. Nothing wrong with a spillover spa. We'll keep that. But there you go. Now you take that old freeform pool, and now it's a geometric pool with a vanishing edge and a very large secondary pool area for kids to play or whatever. So based on the horrible, the massive plumbing on the far left, I'd say in fact, I know for a fact they added in for cleaning as part of the renovation, the major renovation. So and guess how they feel about this pool? They absolutely love it. They weren't doing anything with that backyard, and now they've got this huge masterpiece that everyone can enjoy. So if you're a pool builder instead of just tile coping, we can talk about water features, talk about raised walls. Let's add a raise. Let's add a fire walk or a water walk, a spillover spa. How about a tanning ledge? What about a grotto? Not an ugly one, but a one that looks like it belongs there. In water table and chairs. How about glass tile or all tile? Right? If the new homeowner may have plenty of money. Beach entry is an option, vanishing edge, perimeter overflow, and in-floor cleaning. You know, when I teach this class live, I'll ask, what about in-floor cleaning? Can you do in-floor cleaning on a renovation? And I want, people to say, no, that has to be done when it's built. And then I want the other guys in class to say, oh, hell yeah, you can do it. As long as you got the money, you bet you can add in-floor cleaning to an existing pool. Yeah, it's a serious job, but if the homeowner really wants in-floor cleaning, what kind of a jerk would you be not to offer it to them, right? Give them the option. Automatic covers. In my personal opinion, Dave, I think that automatic covers are the most undersold feature in the United States of America for swimming pools. They pay for themselves they're expensive, but not the safety, right, and the peace of mind, but also the energy. The water stays clean because it's covered all the time. Use less chemicals, use less energy. That's just so smart. We do it for hot tubs. Why don't we do it on pools? We should. Movable floor. Okay, now we're adding $500,000 or more, but as they say, don't count the homeowner's money. You've probably seen this. Twinscape, they do these movable floors. I think they start at about $500,000, but there's nothing preventing you from converting an existing pool into a pool with a movable floor, except money. As again, let them decide. Because I got to tell you, what another tremendous feature. What if I told a homeowner, hey, how would you like to have your swimming pool and more space, for weddings or parties? Well, we can't. Our yard's too small. Well, wait a minute. What if I could convert your pool into a deck? And then you can convert it back to a pool whenever you want by flipping a switch. Wait, what? You can do that? Oh, yeah. Let me show you. Yeah. So, people don't know this is available. So we got to let them know about it. And now let's go beyond the pool. Expanded deck, artificial turf, fireplace, fire pit, pergola, pizza oven, outdoor kitchen, cabanas, outdoor living, putting green, game area, sports court, bathroom shower. Now, I've seen the outdoor showers. That's cute. I like that look. But why not have an all-weather shower or bathroom? And if you're going to have a bathroom, why not have a bathhouse? If you're going to have a bathhouse, why not have a guest house? All right, let somebody else take it. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. I'll tell you what, if I was selling this stuff, I would say, well, Dave, what do you think about a man cave? Watch the games, TV, fireplace. Does that sound good, Dave? And you go, oh, yeah, I love that idea. Well, then I would immediately turn to your wife and I would say, well, if he's getting a man cave, that means you get a she shed, right? Right. Oh, yep. Yeah. Right. So, right.
We've got the man cave and we call it the ladies' lair.
Ladies' lair, yes, that's a little bit more elegant. Lauren was joking earlier, down here in Texas, sometimes they call it a bitch barn. I would use that in a sales call, but my wife isn't real crazy about that one either. So, and you can go beyond that, driveways, pathways, total landscape, because a lot of these people, they may have an old crappy driveway. If their pool is 30 years old, then chances are their driveway is at least 30 years old, and maybe it's time to upgrade that too. So there's lots of opportunities. We're not the plaster guy. We're the total transformation guy. So I love this.
Yeah, story. And on that, if I can interrupt real quick, on the beyond the pool, another thing to maybe add to this list would be solar panels, which could be part of a a pergola or put onto the roof of the house. It's part of the pool, of course, but another undersold thing, or it's a thing that didn't get done with the original construction, probably because of the budget at the time. But now you look at it, energy costs are higher. Yep. Solar panels are not crazy expensive for just passive solar, or even photovoltaics for electrical generation.
Yep.
That's a huge thing that should be considered at the renovation stage.
Excellent point. I'm ashamed that I overlooked that, because and I would bet that 98% of all pools out there that are 10 years old don't have any kind of solar. So excellent. I will update that. All right, let me give you a quick real life story. This is one of my clients. It's been 10 years ago that this happened, but he got a phone call. They said, "Hey, we've got a pool with a leak. All right. And so I wonder if you could come out and have somebody fix it. It's losing water." So he comes out, and here it is, this big giant pool, probably built in 1980 or 75, one of the giant, with a big deep end and everything. And you see it's fenced off. And so when he gets there, he says, "So how are you using this space now?" And they say, "Well, the kids like to jump rope. They play on the deck, but the pool's too deep for them. So we just fence it off. We don't really use the pool at all." Like, "Oh, really?" And they had a conversation. He said, "Well, and why is that?" "Oh, well, it's just too deep. It's just too dangerous." "Well, did you know we could raise the bottom of the floor so that it's safe for your kids? Would that be of interest?" "What? You can do that?" "Yeah." And so he starts talking about the possibilities. So believe it or not, this is that same swimming pool where they got rid of the fence, got rid of the ugly deck. They brought the level up. They added in-floor cleaning. They added a whole outdoor kitchen, bar, fireplace, all that stuff. And if you saw the house, this house is, it's the pool is competing with the house in the value, but it turns out, so it's not a really fabulous house, but they love that neighborhood, and they don't want to move at all. So they were happy to spend $225,000 10 years ago to do this. And an interesting side story, I don't think I have that here. Quick side story. I was talking to the pool builder who did this, and he said, "Yeah, it was $250,000 when it was all said and done." He said for some reason, he couldn't remember why, but he had to go back about a year later. And so he met up with them and was looking at the backyard, and he saw they had added a putting green and I think a batting cage and some other stuff. He said they put another $300,000 into the backyard. Now I'm applauding him up and down that he turned a $20,000 repair into a $225,000 renovation. And lo and behold, he actually left another $300,000 on the table, right? Because I would have stopped at $250,000 too, but you just never know. Within 1 year, they'd spent that additional $300,000. So it's
never underestimate your client.
That's right. Thank you. Here's an example where they, it's not just the pool, but maybe you want some shade area. Oh, we've got shade area. We've got a fire feature. You see a little chimenea. They got some little fountain there. Isn't that tragic that you have to have a fountain outside because your pool doesn't give you the water feature? You're sitting next to a water feature. You shouldn't have to have a little bitty fountain. But anyway, they said, "Oh yeah, we can make that better. How about a fireplace? How about it's covered? And all that." And then added a bunch of water features to the pool so they don't have to have that little fountain anymore. Now, Dave, I don't know if you've ever sold or spec'd any of these, but this is a chrome. It's not just chrome, but stainless steel, whatever it is.
Stainless.
Yeah, stainless. Yeah, so amazing, and especially when you look at this is the very artistic slide. I was guessing $10,000, but I think I was low. Am I low? Do you have an edge?
You missed it by a factor of 10.
Oh my God! 100.
Yeah, these are Splinter Works makes these. We've actually got, I think, 3 of them spec'd right now for various projects, and they are about $120,000, and they are works of art. They're gorgeous,
they're phenomenal. Yeah, and it looks gorgeous. It's a phenomenal choice, but nobody knows about it unless you show it to them. So, what do you think of this? Whoa, I love it. All right, just talking about. I'm telling your builders out there that they should consider pivoting to renovations. The upside is, well, instead of $20K, $30K here and there, you could be $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 projects. So the total revenue, you could potentially maintain the same level of revenue instead of falling off of a cliff. And generally speaking, I believe the margins on renovations tend to be higher than on new pools. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. In renovation work, my experience is that there was less competition because it was all about developing a relationship with the owner through a design process ahead of time to come up with this major renovation. And by the time you get through that, I always felt like I was interviewing the client to decide whether I wanted to continue working with them. But I think when you get to the end, if they trust you and they're buying into the vision and you're helping them see their own vision, they're going to keep working with you. They're not going to take the plan necessarily and just go shop it out for, the cheapest person out there. So I think there are better margins.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, I think even on a new pool, every time you add on a special feature, those features tend to be higher margin than the pool itself. So I think it all kind of the same thing. Anyway, the point is there's some great upsides. There's some risk, and we're going to get into this in a minute. The uncertainty, if maybe you don't have procedures, if you've never done it before. And of course, then the biggest fear I know scares a lot of people away is because what do you do when you discover some latent defect that you didn't know about? And it's like, oh, what do we do now? So there's higher risk, but there's ways to manage that. So I'll get into that in a minute. First, I want to talk about a strategy. Okay, just from a marketing standpoint. If you're thinking about doing this, then I want to tell you, don't think of yourself as a renovator. Think of yourself as a backyard transformer. Your job is not to replaster, but to transform the backyard into a new modern experience that will make your neighbor with a 3-year-old pool jealous because your renovation looks better than his 3-year-old pool. Be a transformer. Bring the vision, the grand vision of the whole space, all the options. Leverage your expertise. You know a lot more about all those other things than your renovating competition. And of course, you absolutely should be doing 3D renderings and videos, especially the before and after. If you can show, here it is before in a video to transition to after, before, after that, using Pool Studio, that's very powerful. And now let's talk about spreading the word. If you are going to, if you're serious about growing this side of the business, well, you need to do a few things to make sure the world knows that you are now that kind of a guy. So it starts with the menu. Make sure it's right there on your main menu. Maybe you got it hidden under pools or something. Well, if you're now a renovator and you're selling more renovations than new pools, then your menu should say new pools and pool renovations. Should be really obvious. So and then you should be showing before and after photos. Now, this is this is a little scrolling technology. You can get it for free or almost nothing. Put on your website. You can take your before photos and your after photos, because we normally set them side by side, right? But with this kind of technology, you can actually, the homeowner can scroll back and forth, and they can really see. They really appreciate the transformation. It's just so again. Software, there's a couple of them, Jet Image Comparison, Insta Slider. I think most of these are free plugins for a WordPress website. So it's a better way to show off transformation. I would also say, I want to encourage you, if you're going to do reservations, don't just show the before and after, but also describe it. Tell the people what you did. So here's an example. We upgraded this. I wrote that. We upgraded this old 1978 plaster rectangular pool with a number of new features, including an attached spa in the far corner. It's kind of hard to see, but oh yeah, okay, they added a spa, yeah, and an expansive tanning ledge. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah, big tanning ledge with bubbler jets. Note the unique custom triple scupper water feature near the deep end. You wouldn't notice that. But you go, oh wow, yeah, that's a very unusual scupper. Deep end unusual fire feature. Look at that fire feature that juts out into the pool. That's I don't believe I've ever seen that before. It's creative, very creative. It's attached to pool but separated for easy seating. We also added covered outdoor living area, blah blah blah. So by describing it, so as we're in the pool industry, we look at a photo and we know what we're looking at, but Susie Homemaker doesn't know what she's looking at. She doesn't know that you did all those cool things. It probably says it here. I can't see from my screen, but added some artificial turf and a variety of other things, a special decking with the Astro pattern. That kind of detail, just telling the story of what you did, is very engaging for your website visitor. Right? We normally just slap a photo up there and they figure it out. Tell a story, even for new pools, tell a story, and your website visitor is going to like you a lot more, and they're much more likely to call you because they've been having a conversation with you, reading what you wrote about the project. It's very powerful. Doesn't cost much. Just take a few minutes to decide what to say. Show lots of options. Here's an example. Because what do we got? We got a grotto, probably a spa inside the grotto. There's a garden on the left. Almost looks like a lazy river. I'm not sure what that is over there. Oh, a little bit of an island with a bridge. Just tons of a tanning ledge on the right, and this little seating area that juts out into the pool. All these show the wide variety of features. And I often go a step further, and I'll point to them with little arrows. If I'm doing a brochure or something, I'll say, added the bridge, added this, added that. So just so they understand what else happened. Also, if you're going to promote this and you want people to find you when they're searching in your town for a renovator, well, you got to make some adjustments to the website. Make sure there's a thing called title tags. When you go to any web page, there's a title tag up at the top that it's supposed to describe what's on the page. People that don't know any better put their company name up there. That's not the right thing. It shouldn't say your company name. It should say, well, like here, swimming pool renovations in Greater Austin. Then it can mention your company name, but it should always start with the keyword feature, what the page is about. That's for SEO purposes. If you don't do that, your rankings will be worse. It doesn't cost anything to do that. It's part of building a website. So there's title tags and keywords. Put certain keywords on the page. And meta description. I don't know if I'm getting into too techie stuff here, but meta descriptions aren't complicated. Every website and every web page should have a description in addition to the keywords and the title tags. The description is when you do a search on Google, like here it says swimming pool renovations, Greater Austin. Heinz Pool and Spa provides swimming pool renovation services throughout the Greater Austin area where they need plastic, blah, blah, blah. Those are the words that Google pulls from the website that are hidden in the meta description and shows it. So that's what's very important. You got to say the right stuff. In other words, if you're now doing renovations, you better make sure you mention that in your meta description, because someone will search for you and they won't say anything about renovation and say, well, okay, wrong guy. I won't click that one. Emphasis on backyard transformation. Now, this is my favorite part. Let's stop and eat. We're looking at a skillet of sausage and cheese and some jalapeno peppers. A Texan would love this. I would love it. I'm hungry right now. Looks pretty good. Would you agree, Dave? Unless you're vegetarian.
No, this looks fancy like Applebee's. I would love to have that right now.
That's right. It's kind of tasty. Well, so this is an appetizing image. This is not an appetizing image. This is making the sausage, okay? Eating the sausage is great. Making the sausage is ugly. Nobody wants to see you make the sausage, okay? So, and I say that because a lot of builders fall into that trap. Oh, let me show you what we do. No, don't. So well, this sounds good. Yeah, I'd like to do this renovation. So hold on, ma'am. First, let me show you what we're going to do in your backyard. First, we're going to absolutely destroy your deck. There's going to be pieces of old rusty rebar sticking out. So better keep your kids away because they might get impaled. All right. So just a little safety thought there. It's like, oh, this is horrendous. They don't want to see this. Or I like this one. Oh, by the way, do you work at home? Because there's going to be a 7-ton jackhammer outside your back door for a couple of days. I hope that's not an issue. Don't talk about the sausage being made. It's overrated. Don't talk about how it's made. Exceptions. If you want to explain it once on the website as a side thing, say, would you like to see how we do renovations? And we have a 27-step process. Well, that's fine. Do it once so those people who want to see it can go look at it. But don't force that sausage being made on everybody that's just looking for a renovator. They don't want to see it. And it's also okay on social media because that's where we're telling stories, right? Say, because those two photos I just showed, it's like, we had to bring in a jackhammer. That's funny on Facebook. It's not funny on your website, but on Facebook or Instagram, you can get away with it. It's like, oh my God, yeah, I'll bet, right in the middle of a conference call, that's where it can work. And you say, here's what's happening. But notice I say well curated. Don't throw every ugly photo of every ugly step. Just be choosy and show something that people are going to go, wow, that's pretty cool. Okay. Emphasize transformation. If you're doing any kind of PPC advertising, Google ads or anything like that, you probably want to advertise or when I say, I should be saying, you should be bidding on keywords like tile, coping, plaster. I'm not telling you that that's what I want you to sell, but the people that are looking for tile, coping, and plaster, they're the ones you want to have a conversation with. So you absolutely want to be trying to grab the same people that are just looking for tile, coping, plaster. You should also talk about swimming pool transformations, backyard transformations. And then depending on where you are in the country, some people call it a remodel, some say refurbish, some say renovate, some say rejuvenate. You know, I got a client, I think he's in Arkansas, and he said, we do a lot of rehab. Rehab, okay, be careful, because for a lot of people, rehab has nothing to do with your pool, and it has a lot to do with people in white coats. Okay, so figure out, what does your city often refer to? What's the most popular phrase? And that's what you should use. You can also do postcards. We've done this for clients in the past. 4 biggest complaints about swimming pool. Because here's the deal: if someone has a pool that needs renovation, if the plaster is worn, they kind of know it, because it doesn't happen overnight. They've been seeing it for 6 months or a year, and it's an open folder in their brain, and they keep thinking, oh yeah, I got to do something about it. When they get something like a postcard or a magazine ad, or hear something on the radio that talks about worn plaster, it'll get their attention. Their brain will say, whoa, dude, that's the thing we're thinking about. So a postcard like this with a sad little kid, 4 biggest complaints about old swimming pools. Which one do you want to solve? As a reminder, the whole purpose of this side of the postcard, of any postcard, is not to get them to go to you, but to get them to flip it over and read the back. Because what do people do? When you get your mail, you stand next to you grab your mail from the mailbox, you stand over the waste can, or in Austin, over the recycle bin. We recycle down here. And you look and see if there's any reason why I should not throw this into the bin. And so if I see this, I go, whoa, wait, what's this? I look at the back. Okay, and I'm going to keep that. That's the whole goal. If you're doing postcards, you need to say something interrupting on one side so that they'll want to flip it over and read the back. Because then they're engaged, and then you can tell them more about the kind of things you do and your offer to do a free inspection or whatever. Definitely should be doing 3D renderings. I think this is from our friend Juan Roca, where and this may have been a new pool, I don't know, but the point is you can really make a good looking rendering with Pool Studio if you just take a little extra time. And I would say, if you're trying to convince someone to spend $400,000 on renovation, you should absolutely be doing this level of 3D rendering. Would you agree?
Yep, absolutely.
And I'd go a step further. I would also do that transition thing where it's just, here's your crappy backyard, here's what it could be. Here's crappy, here's what it could be. Now, if you'll sign here, I'll make it beautiful. And if you don't sign here, then I'm gonna leave it crappy. Your choice. It's just real simple decision. Transformation video, new pool portfolio. Operations. We're gonna go through this kind of quickly, but my key advice, I don't like making plans for the day, because words like premeditated get thrown around in the courtroom. Just joking. In the case of renovations, operations, and pre-planning is absolutely vital. Now, I'm not an expert in this arena. When someone wants this kind of advice, I send them over to the guys at CyberFunnels, because they've built a whole program with a master workflow and a blueprint. So there's too much to cover in this screenshot, but I'll just tell you, it starts with the receptionist taking the call, getting the basic information, the estimator going out and getting the sense of what's all going to be involved. Then accounting has to do the invoice. The general manager has to look it all over and approve it, or send it back. Production manager has to schedule the materials. Showroom manager has to arrange for the person to come in, pick out the tile, coping, and all that other stuff. Product manager pick the stuff. Prep crew has to go out, drain the pool. Field inspector, when they drain the pool, field inspector has to go out and inspect it and make sure, look for any latent defects. And there's a conversation up front that says, this is how it works. We do an inspection at every stage, And if we discover something that's wrong that we didn't know about, you'll have a choice. You can either do a change order for us to cover this new thing, or we can stop, so they and give them several options. So anyway, there's a whole process, a whole workflow. It should all, right now, a lot of people, they do renovations. Oh, I can handle that. I'll just, just go get started on it. No, it should, if you want to grow it, I guess that's my real point. Because, a lot of guys, a lot of builders have 3 or 4 or 5 salespeople, designers, and then they got Joe over there. Joe handles renos. They got 5 guys and they do, but then, Reno, you just kick it over to Joe. Joe will take care of it. And my recommendation is, if you want, maybe you want to do more than just Joe. Maybe you need 4 or 5 salespeople all working renovations. That would, if you want to keep the revenue coming, that's the way to do it. So document everything at every stage. There should be a summary of what happened and a signature from the crew supervisor and the customer, that you got to sign off on this stage. You have to sign this off, or we're not going to the next stage. So do you approve the work we did here? Yes, great. Moving to the next stage. So status, like I said, sign. That way, if there's ever a question, wait, that's not the tile I wanted. Oh, really? Let's go back. It says right here, this was the tile you chose and you signed it on this date. So that's how you avoid the expensive redos. Okay. Change orders have to be signed before anything happens. Accountability, field reports from each day. Talk a little bit about profitability, about pricing and margins. There's some things you can do to maximize the dollars. For example, fees are something that a lot of people just kind of cook into it. Well, that's really not fair, and not to you or to them, right? You should say, if there's going to be plans, you're going to pay for that. Permits, you'll have to pay the permit fees. If there's engineering required, you got to pay the engineering fees. If there are disposal fees, you'll have to pay that. You should pay the actual, because truth is, you never know what the disposal fees are going to be, because you don't know how much you're going to haul away. You don't know how far you got to take it. And you don't know what they charge where you're dumping it. So it's only, you're going to burn yourself if you just say, $2,000 covered all. No, maybe not. It may be $8,000. So you should, the fees should always be separate line items. Setting expectations of what's going to happen. Piecework versus hourly work. I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but one of the guys I respect mentioned that he prefers to put all his subs on piecework instead of hourly work, because if it's hourly, then the motivation is to spend as many hours as possible. And if it's piecework, then the motivation is to do it as efficiently as possible. So he's had a much better success and better profitability when he does the piecework. When the homeowner balks at what all's involved in this, we just have to remind him, well, here's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is you may choose someone else who doesn't take it as seriously as we do. And they're going to get started and they're going to discover some latent defect that they didn't know about, that they can't afford to absorb, and you weren't prepared for it. And then they're going to abandon your project, and you'll have to pay someone else to come in and start over. It's almost as bad as, someone that builds a pool and stops halfway through and someone has to take over. That's the worst case scenario. That's why you, the homeowner, would be wise to choose someone who has a clear, well-documented business system for handling renovations. So summarizing, in my opinion, and I'm not alone here because you were the one that raised my attention to it in the first place, Dave, new pool market is kind of bleak right now, especially in the South. Meanwhile, there's potentially a great upside with renovations. You're likely to get better margins, and let's be honest, the sky is the limit, right? Even if it's remove and replace, right? That's a renovation. We're going to take out this pool and just start with a clean slate. That's the ultimate renovation. So be aggressive. That's, I think a lot of people are just afraid. Well, if it's more than $20,000, they'll freak out. No, they would love to see these options. Most people would. And it does require a system. If you just go into it willy-nilly, or if you're just trying to let your existing renovations department grow it, you could probably grow 10%, 20%, maybe 30%, but you'll probably have some growing pains. And mistakes could be costly. That's why I strongly recommend you have a system, because if you want to double or triple your renovations business, you're probably not going to do it with just your existing department. With that one guy that's doing it, oh, I can take on a little bit more. He can't double or triple. You gotta bring in a system, just like you have a system for building new pools. Now, quick plug for Mr. Bill Drakely and the ever smiling Ben Lassiter. That is, it is a smile. He is smiling. You just gotta look closely. It's there. So I think they're teaching a major renovations course at the Master Pools Guild. And I know there's multiple versions of this, but this is the closest one coming up. So if shouting out to the audience, if you're really interested in getting really good at major renovations like I've been talking about, well, WU has the C2711 Major Renovations Workshop, right? Dave, any comments about this course?
Yeah, well, we've been doing this program for years, and we've had a lot of success with it because it's all about getting way beyond just, tile coping and plaster. This is how you change the shape of the pool. How can you take a pool and add a slot edge detail to it? How do you build a shell within a shell, or raise the water level, or add a vanishing edge? And you're as a student, you actually pick one of 3 projects to work on over the course of the 2 days. And so there's lecture, and then the project, lecture, project, and you're evaluated as you work through the project. And we've got, problems that we throw at you. Each project has a different client type. One is a family, one is a retired couple, one is a single, businessman, and they all have different needs, and their pools may not necessarily fit who they are right now. And so you're trying to tie all of that together. The client with the project, and solving problems, structural problems, mechanical problems, and pulling it all together into this project at the end of 2 days. So it really is about, driving up the value. And I think one of the major bullets, I think, that could probably be added to that last slide is that in order for this to work, for you to be able to really drive these costs up, you want to be inspirational with your client. You want to drive inspiration and excitement. They may be thinking, oh, I want to, spend $30,000, but when they see something and they're just inspired and enthusiastic about it, their checkbook suddenly has more money in it, and they will find ways to get things done. So, but you have to inspire them to do that. If you can't do that through good design and all of that, it's probably going to be a tough push. But
yeah,
we've got lots of ways to help people figure all that out. So
yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
I don't know whether you saw my text, but I thought, the wellness aspect is totally missing from this as well. I thought maybe that would be a good thing to bring in.
Yeah, that is a good point. I just did this another program with Wallace J. Nichols on wellness, a 2-day program that we've put together a couple times now, and just how that's such a growing market, and our industry should own the wellness industry from the standpoint of selling products, services, construction, and everything else. And there's a growing need for it. All these baby boomers are getting older. They need help. And water is the best therapy there is. So some of this is not just pools and spas. What about cold plunges and steam rooms and saunas and all these other things that deal with water in some way, whether it's hydrating you or dehydrating you or steaming you or whatever you want to do, hydrotherapy. Lots of other things that could be done as part of the project in addition to just the renovation aspect of it. In terms of things outside of the pool that Brett was talking about, there's a lot of other things that we could be marketing and selling to the clients.
Yep. Yep, saunas, steam rooms, and Jay Nichols, Walsh J. Nichols, as you said, the author of Blue Mind. I agree with his philosophy that everyone in our industry should embrace the concept of blue mind, that human beings are just happier and healthier when we're around water. So, so that's I'd heard he taught a heck of a course. I just love that guy. He's brilliant. I want to back up slightly, saying, getting to this major renovations course that you folks offer. So I've talked about the business reasons why it might make sense to do this and some marketing strategies you could use to grow that business. So if I sort of wet your whistle and got you excited about maybe considering that, then I think the next step is sign up for the major renovations course, because then you'll have the skills and confidence behind you to really hit the ground running with that thing. So that's why I mentioned this. I don't know if I'm supposed to make my presentation available. I did, but if Lauren tells me no, I got to get it through you guys, that I'll take it off of that website. But this is what I normally do. If you want to download this presentation, you can use your QR code on the left. Because I do a lot of websites and marketing for the pool industry, if you ever are looking for more advice in that arena, or like you want us to help put renovations on your website, you can reach us through the middle QR code. And then if you wanted to, I mentioned the company, Cyber Funnels, Pool Builder Agency, they have a whole renovations business accelerator that if you're interested in growing more than just 10 or 20%, you might have a free conversation with those folks and just see what they're recommending. So not selling anything here, just more resources that are available. So if somebody needs me to go back to the QR code, let me know. But otherwise, I think it's time to open it up for questions. Lauren, you got any questions for me?
There are none
Okay.
today, but you had a nice group that hung with you the whole time, Brett.
I've
Lauren,
got something I wanted to bring up. I think this could be another bullet back towards the beginning when you're thinking about things that that older pools don't have. Another big one is new efficient equipment and automation, which automation is probably one of the easiest things. If someone calls you up and they say, look, I need new coping tile and plaster.
Yeah.
I think the discussion about automation is probably the easiest lead in to selling them more stuff, because if they don't have automation, it's a relatively inexpensive add-on that even a renovator could do. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a builder. But the idea that somebody could pull up their phone while they're, heading out of the office and the spa could be hot and running when they get home is such an attractive option that they may not have now if they have to go outside and click a switch on the heater and manually turn some valves to go into spa mode or whatever. That's a really easy conversation to have. And then from there, you might start working up to the bigger, better stuff too.
That's an excellent suggestion. And especially nowadays, 10, 12 years ago, automation wasn't quite as widespread, but nowadays, everybody's got either Alexa or Google or whatever. So everyone's accustomed to it. So when they suddenly realize that their 15-year-old swimming pool doesn't have automation, it's just like, oh my God, you're right. Well, that's an excellent foot in the door on the whole upselling strategy. I like that a lot. I'll add that next time. By the way, Lauren, when I said, do you have any questions? I didn't mean did the audience. I meant, does Lauren Stack have any questions for me?
No, you answered them all. You answered everything, Brett. You did excellent.
Good.
I got a question from Tyler Clark. He asks, pool remodels involving shape change and or adding a spa are more or less risky than demoing the entire pool and starting fresh? I'll jump into this and say absolutely not. There is a right way to do it, and there are some wrong ways to do it. A lot of it has to do with the depth. If you try putting the spa at the deep end and you don't dig down as far as the deep end might reach, then you might very well be in a different soil type. And you have to mitigate that with some maybe some foundation work. I did a project with Dave Penton where we drilled a single caisson adjacent to the pool to get it founded at the same level as the deep end. But maybe the option is that it's a completely separate structure, but hydraulically connected. I had a client that had a spa attached to the pool. It was a terrible design. And I said, well, let's eliminate the existing spa. We'll turn that into a sun shelf. We'll build an entirely new spa off to the side. We'll have it perimeter overflow into a little stream, and then we'll connect the stream back to the existing pool. So there's no risk there because it wasn't even close enough to the existing pool to affect it structurally or anything. But and it also, repositioned the spa in a better location. There were a lot of design reasons for it, and I've got a whole other kind of fun story about that project that I can't get into now because of our timing. But absolutely not. You can add a spa, you can change the shape, but you have to know how to do it. And that's what we talk about in this major renovations class, which is in Birmingham, Alabama, starts in about 2 weeks. So if you go to the website, you can check it out. It's also cheap insurance if for the cost of it and what it could cost you to make a mistake on a project. You would kick yourself for not spending less than $2,000 to go take a construction program. So
The Dave, that Birmingham event, do you have to be a member of the Master Pools Guild to go to that event?
no, it is open to everyone. Thankfully, MPG has opened that up to everyone. So
nice. Okay, good. And then looks like you're also, okay. So that's the only time you're teaching it in the immediate future is in Birmingham.
Correct. Yeah, that's the next version. We don't have that scheduled again this summer or anything. That may change, but for now, Bill and Ben are on board in a couple of weeks, and simultaneously is an advanced design class that Jason Brownlee is presenting at the Master Pools Guild meeting. And then we've got some plumbing and electrical programs going on at the Western Show in Long Beach in a couple of weeks.
Including you, one of the presenters.
Yep. Yeah, me and Paul are doing a brand new electrical program designed to tackle everything from low voltage and to high voltage, 3-phase control systems, wireless stuff, how you wire it up. You get software to help you size up panels and size up wiring to reduce voltage drop and all the stuff you need to know, everything in Article 680 and things that every electrician should know. A licensed electrician doesn't even know most of the stuff in this program, which is why we put it together.
Right. Good. All right. I don't know if there's anything else that.
Yeah. I got one more question from Tyler. The mud we are using is 4,000 PSI. The older pools seem to average 2,500 PSI. Is there any concern placing these two different materials together? No. Stronger is better. So the new work will be better than the old work, and that's just fine. There's not an issue with the new concrete being stronger than the old concrete. So give it everything you got. It might even need to be higher than 4,000. It may need to be 4,500 or 5,000, depending on freeze thaw or sulfates in the soil. So it's all driven by code. Again, I want to thank our corporate engagement team for all their support. We couldn't do it without them. And thanks, Brett, for a wonderful presentation. Lots of great information. I appreciate you putting all that together. Any last words for us?
No, just well, again, if you want to keep the money coming in and you go on renovation, get aggressive. Get signed up for that course in 2 weeks. You got 12 days to get to Birmingham.
Very good.
Right. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye now.
Bye.